Hey everyone, so we're just going to wait around a little bit until more people start filtering into the webinar. So we have a few people coming in right now. Just while we're waiting for some people to show up, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask during the webinar, you can go to the chat on the side of your screen and just type in any questions, and we'll get started. And then at the end of the event, you can go to the chat on the side of your screen. At the end of the event, we will address these questions, and Byron will send you any answers that he has. And we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. So while people are starting to come in, one thing that I want to let you guys know is that there will be a recording of this webinar, which you will be emailed a link to. So don't worry if you have to dash out at any minute. All of that will be available for you. And instead of giving Byron an intro, I'm going to let him do his thing and tell you a little bit about himself. So Byron, whenever you're ready and you want to jump on, go ahead.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here with everyone. Thanks for tuning in and dialing into a discussion about content strategy, which, by the way, typically could take
to unmute your mic, though.
Dialing into a discussion about content strategy, which, by the way, Can you hear me now, Nadia?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Got it. Okay, sorry. That was funky. It was like a delayed reaction there. Anyway, I am super excited to be here today and to talk with everybody about content strategy. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself, and more importantly, we're going to dive right into developing and forging a content strategy plan for your business, whether it be small as a solopreneur or someone that's interested in and perhaps has a background in journalism or content and is working to advance your career with content strategy. So I'm very excited to chat about this. Now, mind you, this topic could take 4 to 6 hours to typically get through. We've had a lot of interest in content strategy in the marketplace, the content marketing world. As you can well imagine, people want to feel like they're getting the best return on the investment they can for the dollars they spend on content marketing. And there aren't really many classes out there or certification programs out there, at least that I've heard of or seen, that can really direct you to be producing and developing great content and aiming your content in the right direction. So we're going to talk about that and the pressure you have to deliver an ROI. So for starters, just a little bit about myself. Before I founded WriterAccess, the current company that I am working at, we were actually a full-service content marketing agency, servicing customers like Walmart, the company store, Brookstone, FTD, and lots of really interesting companies, helping them answer some very difficult questions like, how much content do I need? How good does it need to be? What channels do I need to be publishing in to reach our customers and prospects? And most importantly, how much content is this? How much is this going to cost? And exactly what ROI are we going to get for our investment? Those were typically the first few moments and hours in working with any customer that we discussed. They wanted to know our methodology, our technology we were using, and our overall approach to content marketing and what we could do for them. So this business was started back in 2005. So it was very difficult back in those days, 12 years ago, to answer those questions without the advancement of technology and all we know now about search and search engine marketing and search engine optimization and publishing and performance measurement and tools and technology. So we've come a long way, and I think in my mind, we migrated our agency over from servicing about 100 customers per year to servicing now 25,000 customers at WriterAccess that look to us to help them in our platform find writers and manage content, place orders, set up API integrations to publish quickly and automate the process to basically be working with great writers that can crank out the kind of content they need. But my roots have been in strategy for quite some time. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we begin, I'm going to be sending you all a link to a recording, as well as a link to my book, a PDF version of my book. So you'll get an email from me after this webinar. If you have any questions, you'll be able to respond to that link or just email me anytime, Byron White at WriterAccess. And of course, you can send me some love on Twitter. That would be great. I really look for Twitter to get feedback on all the presentations I do. I've done about 100 webinars over at WriterAccess that are like this one, and also speak avidly and actually run content marketing conference as well, which you can check out. So lots of cool stuff coming your way. So in general, I want to just sort of explain the situation that we're all in right now. I think it's a difficult time. Certainly businesses understand that quality content is critical to the marketing funnel, but the concept of quality content is certainly up for debate. And we're learning that great content zeroes in on a particular topic, and it's serving up the right points and the right insights to the right people at the right time. That's really what content marketing is all about. But, you know, you can get deeper with great content. We don't have time to do that today, but certainly great content uses metaphors and analogies and comparisons and offers insights. And as I mentioned, and it connects with readers in an emotional way. And that's really difficult to do. And it takes some engagement and some skill and some experience and talent to achieve that goal. And so what we want to do with this great content is try to drive the strategy the right way. And we need a GPS for success. And that's really what we're going to talk about today as we migrate forward. The complexities are great. You know, we're basically told that to develop strategy, we need to harvest big data to find the insights and the patterns. We need to analyze content style and tone, engagement patterns. We need to review results and modify strategy on the fly. We need to deliver on performance goals. And if you looked at the first word of each of those phrases I just suggested to you, it spells hard. Content strategy has been hard. And everyone seems to have a different interpretation. Some people go deeper, some people go lighter, some people are SEO focused. And your team has a lot to do with it, how many people are on your team. I do believe content marketing is a team sport. Are you a solo practitioner, or do you have people that are specialists with pay-per-click and optimization and A/B testing and multivariate testing and writing? And you know, the content marketing team is typically very large, but as a result of that, it gets very difficult to carve out strategy. So what we have to, however, become extremely aware of is the reality that 40% of companies have a greater focus on customer acquisition versus 18% that focus on retention. That is an alarming statistic. Our marketing efforts right now, almost twofold, almost threefold, frankly, are aimed at acquisition. Yet it costs 5 times as much to attract a new customer than to keep an existing customer. So I think we're aiming ourselves in the wrong direction, to make a long story short, when we think of marketing and marketing strategy, not to mention content strategy. So how can we make this easy, and how can we develop a plan? And that's the solution I'd like to talk with you about today. I think the answer to that is our perpetual drive to put the customer at the center of the funnel, which we've done successfully in the last 5 to 10 years as content marketing has surfaced. What are the customer needs? As opposed to our products and services, which used to have the spotlight of explaining through traditional advertising what we did. Now it's more about what the customer needs as the centerpiece. But what we really need is what I call customer experience design. And it's a relatively new concept that's forging its way into the content marketing game plan. And so just a couple more very quick stats so you can understand why customer experience design is critical for you to understand if there's one thing you take away from this presentation today. And that is that increasing customer retention rates by 5% can increase profits by 25 to 95%. Alarming, right? If we could just hang on to our customers, we can greatly improve our bottom line. And this is alarming. 43% of customers ignore future communications from a brand once they've received irrelevant, bad information. And another 20% of customers report that they stopped buying products from a company after receiving irrelevant communications. So we've got to fix this problem. And that's exactly what customer experience design and content strategy in general, start to develop a much deeper understanding of. But the questions are, how do we learn what type of information customers are seeking? How do those needs change throughout the journey? And how do we visualize the journey and the personas that we're writing for? And that's really what we're going to get to. But before we do, I have one super simple example of customer experience design that has been taken to the finest level. If you find the About page on Starbucks, you will see the following statement on that page. I'm going to read it to you so you can thoroughly understand what the end goal should be, both philosophically and methodologically and spiritually, if you will, with how the customer has got to become the centerpiece of your mantra, which is, I think, much better than a mission statement. So let's take a look at what Starbucks has developed here. It happens millions of times each week. A customer receives a drinks from a Starbucks barista. But each interaction is unique. It's just a moment in time, just one hand reaching over the counter to present a cup to another outstretched hand. But it's a connection. We make sure everything we do honors that connection, from our commitment to the highest quality coffee in the world, to the way we engage with our customers and communities to do business responsibly, from our beginnings as a single store over 40 years ago. In every place that we've been, in every place that we've touched, we've tried to make it a little better than we found it. These carefully crafted words, I think, showcase customer experience design and the type of top-level content strategy that we all need to be developing for our companies. Sure, Starbucks sells coffee, and actually one of their keyword phrases you will find in that quote is highest quality coffee. So it's important to optimize and to equally as well as to develop a strategy. So let's take a look at what I believe is the solution that we're going to walk through today. Very quickly, I'm going to show you 3 key documents that I feel are easy to produce and are completely, literally the GPS for content strategy to get you on the same page with your teammates that need to be involved in the process and what you stand for and what you believe in as a company, and the actual execution of developing content assets that align with these 3 documents. So let's dive right in and make this fast, short, and sweet and carry on quickly and efficiently. So for starters, we need to look at a customer journey map. And if I had a poll right now, I would say, okay, how many people have heard the phrase customer journey map or developed a customer journey map? When I ask that question with webinars that I do or speaking engagements, it's typically most people have heard of what a customer journey map is, maybe 50% of the audience, maybe 60, 70. But very few people have actually developed a customer journey map. We're going to take literally a 2 to 4 minute quick version at a customer journey map so you can understand what it is. A journey map basically documents what customers are thinking and feeling at different stages of their journey with your brand. It helps team members better understand how to walk in the shoes of the customer, which is really what our goals are in almost any aspect of the business, whether it be customer success or marketing or sales, or even at the C level of understanding a deeper sense of customers. But it also helps to create better content assets that will engage customers and propel them along the journey. And that's why the customer journey you're going to see really becomes a tool for writers to create content. That's what I'm trying to do with a customer journey map, which is a little bit different than what anybody else is doing out there. So it essentially it documents what customers experience as they explore your brand. And that's what we're going to take a quick look at. So in general, a journey map has as many as 8 stages. This is just an example. It might be 6 stages. But remember I told you a little bit about 44% of the investment goes into user acquisition. Well, that's only the right side of this screen you're looking at. Discover, investigate, consider, and trial and purchase. That's only half of the screen, if you will. And sadly, that's where we put most of our marketing dollars, particularly when it comes to content. We like to lure people into stories or rich content assets that attract them, but we don't think a little bit about our existing customers and helping to improve our retention rates by providing them a different type of content asset that might help them with their journey throughout the brand experience. So that'll be something that we'll come back to. But in general, it's it's difficult to craft this and to really learn the details of how to get this done. So let's go through one particular stage, and then we're going to go through the elements that you're going to see throughout this discovery stage. And first of all, you see a visual of the type of assets that we might be creating: website content, video explainer, blog posts, maybe a resource center. We're going to try to feed the curiosity and the thirst with information at this early stage. So what we do is we do a bunch of research. And first we describe, in this case, this is a journey map about WriterAccess, our company. So we do offer a research summary, if you will. You can take a quick read of it right now, but we're trying to make everyone on our team understand that customers understand that content is perhaps important, but they're at different stages. Some of them are, trying to create content to achieve goals. Some of them are just browsing. People might be from different types of companies, agencies that offer, creative services, maybe content services. They have a different set of needs. They're beginning to explore what are the possibilities with WriterAccess and content. How does this all work? So what we then do, so we write a summary of this particular stage, but most importantly, we talk with our customers, we talk with our customer success representatives that deal with customers all day, every day, same with sales reps. And we try to literally document some important statements, literally statements that these customers are making. So that's the key, is to use their language, not your interpretation of their language, and try to pinpoint your CS team members and your sales reps into explaining what exactly did they ask? How did they ask it? What were the words that they used? So these become triggers to understanding and customer needs and what they're experiencing at this particular stage. So the next thing we need to do is to grade the content that addresses those needs which we've identified. So you can see that there's a C+ grade on WriterAccess right now, obviously room for improvement. But we do have lots of content available, and we are publishing in a number of different channels, but we're beginning to get a holistic view of, did we solve those customers' problems in that particular stage of the journey? And if it's a poor grade, we need to look closely at the quality of content and how we're touching people at what stage, etc. So the next thing we do, and this is a little bit different, my twist on all of this in the development of a customer journey map, is to actually suggest topics. And what I find clients love about this being done is it becomes a roadmap for them, basically an editorial calendar of the type of content assets that you could potentially generate in the next 2 months, 6 months, 12 months that would address customers that have pain points and challenges and needs at this particular stage of the journey. So you're leaving a writer who's trying to understand what your company is all about. You're leaving them with topic ideas, which they can begin thinking about and putting together to create content that would appeal to customers at this stage. So the next thing I want to talk about are customer personas. And once again, I'm sure some of you have heard that, but developing personas is certainly a challenge. I like saying that there are probably 2 key personas that I like to think of that that will simplify what persona development is all about. One is ADD Andy on the left, and one is sophisticated Sally. ADD Andy wants things fast, and he does not want to dig deeply into the richness of a content asset. He does not have time for the details. He wants perhaps reviews and recommendations. He wants to go through his layers. He's emotionally driven. He wants the triggers to be right in front of him to make a fast decision to go for it, if you will. Whereas sophisticated Sally is going to look at a deeper process, perhaps a more rational process to make a decision, a more informed decision with information in her hand. So the key with the development of customer personas is to focus on asking your customers one and only one question, I believe, with some expansion, of course, on that question. And that question would be, take me back to when you made the decision to purchase. What were you thinking at that time? It wants to be broad-based. I think that one question will surface lots of answers for you that will help you paint the picture of this particular customers that you've selected, which you feel is an embodiment of a larger group that has the same pain points, the same challenges. So let's look a little bit deeper at a really cool tool that you guys can take a look at. If you go to applymagicsauce.com, you'll see that this is a fantastic research tool that you can use to harvest some incredible information about a particular customer. And you would need to ask your customer to use their Facebook account to analyze their behavior and what they share on Facebook. But it's a fantastic opportunity to learn about them. There's also a language research tool that you can use on Apply Magic Sauce that's fantastic, where you can drop in copy, perhaps content that your customer has written or content on sites in your industry that people read a lot, like educational and informational sites, and analyze that copy into a thorough analysis of what type of personality is the person that wrote this content, or what kind of personality is this person that has we're analyzing their Facebook data. So it's starting to give you some deeper analysis of where people are leaning. It's a great way to get deeper with the development of personas using some fantastic new tools. So we could go into an explanation of all of these, but I think if you're interested, you can go take a look at it. I could cover one of them. The conscientiousness, concerns the way which we control, regulate, and direct our impulses. It's sort of an impulsive related thing. And, it will offer a description, that will read something like people with your likes are random and fun to be around, but also can plan and persist but can also plan and persist when life requires it. It appears that depending on the situation, you can make quick decisions or deliberate for longer if necessary. So this is reinforcing your character sketch of these personas by using some code and some data to get a little bit more deeper with analytics in describing and building out your personas. So that's something for you to keep in the back of your mind. But the personas themselves certainly are difficult to create. Here's a persona fleshed out so you can understand how we build these out. So we ask Michael this question, we learn his situation, his complexity, and we look to offer solutions with how he would look to us as a potential solution provider. So we can look at his patterns, like maybe he saw that we were on the Inc. 5000 list, 3 times in a row, which helped build his confidence. So for people like Michael, if we're targeting him, we might want to write content around making that list, or explain to him, based upon our data, and understanding that he's interested in that as a validator. We might want to make a point of that once we understand we're dealing with someone like Michael, who's a director of marketing, who's short on time, who has a small marketing team. He might want quick validation that we're the real deal. So what we write, the content we create, that the type of writing that we're developing will vary depending upon these sketches that we're developing. So we can go deeper with Michael's profile and really get analytical, learn a lot more about him. But this is, again, helping a writer create content. It's helping a writer get under the skin of the target audience, the purpose of these personas. So you can see some more data, Michael's profile. Then you can take a look at his behavior influencers, which we can use using Google Analytics, and also talking with him. Does he go to trade shows? What are his external influences? What are his purchasing influences? We can start to expand and learn from Michael to learn the triggers we need and the patterns we need to pick up on about what might influence his decision-making ability. We can also do a sales blueprint, which of course our sales reps do, but we can learn from the blueprints that our sales reps have created. What type of content assets has he purchased? Maybe looking at data from our platform if he's an existing customer. We can look at the channels that he's publishing in just by taking a look at his website. We can look at how much he's spending with us or how much he expects to spend on content. You can look at the publishing requirements. We can look at some of the tactics which become triggers of conversation and personalization for any communication we have with him. With what kind of tactics is he using? What kind of information can we get to him as we communicate to, send him the HubSpot guide on to A/B testing. Maybe we decide to forward that to him because we've learned that A/B testing is one of his tactics. So this information is critical, as you can begin to see. I've introduced a new concept to persona development, and that is personalization. We can start to personalize our content, which really, by the way, is the secret to where it's all going. And we can begin to see this with even communication and email spam that you get versus personalized email where people have done research on you. You're much more engaged with them and likely to respond to them if there's an element of personalization. Learn from things like this that we're looking at. So most importantly, the final step, what I do with persona development is we try to create a creative brief from this research we've done with Michael. And what we're trying to get to is what tone and style of content is he going to gravitate towards? And those are the bigger elements. So a writer now looks at this and immediately understands if I'm creating something for Michael, I know what to write, what style to write, and how to flex my content into being more appealing to Michael. So that concludes our persona development, and I look forward to your questions afterwards. Next up, final step, keyword map. We're going to blow through this quickly, but the keyword maps are fascinating creatures. By the way, I am absolutely a fan of optimization. A lot of people in the content space find optimization to be tedious. It does require a lot of research, but a keyword map really points your content in the right direction by identifying the popular and opportunistic keywords that are worthy of targeting for content creation, right? So, you're producing all of this content to be found in the search engines. You have to use the words that people are using to search upon, or you are very simply not going to be found and you're not going to boost and improve your traffic. But as you're going to see, and we get deeper on this, you need to tie the keyword research that you're doing into keyword silos, which are general topic areas and are more thought leadership driven to bundle this all together to make it work. So you find harmony between what a content creator wants to create versus what an optimizer wants you to optimize for. So you alleviate this tension by developing keyword maps that really have multiple purposes to them. So the first step is to do a bunch of keyword research. So you can use amazing tools like spyfu.com, spyfu.com, to go out and, simply type in your domain name, and within seconds, they'll tell you your competitors. You probably know your competitors, but they'll also tell you the keywords that not only your site is driving organically from the search engines, but you can learn what keywords your competitors what keywords your competitors are driving traffic from the search engines. And you then grab all of the keywords you possibly can that are driving all this traffic to your site and all your competitors, and they become essentially a keyword universe that allows you to begin dissecting and analyzing each of them and looking at lots of data. And what you're going to try to do is to build a nice keyword universe, trim your keyword universe down to a few thousand keywords that matter to you. And within that keyword universe, you're going to have some primary keywords that are the critical ones that are perhaps a high pay-per-click price, a high search volume, and are worthy of going after. And then you're going to have low-hanging fruit keywords where your keywords are in, where you've identified keywords where your website is in position 11 through 50, meaning if you create some content and some internal link strategy on your own around those keyword phrases, you can move them into the top 10. So you certainly want to be creating content around those keywords because they can almost immediately help you improve your traffic. And you'll also have some secondary keywords that might be longer tail keywords that might be easy to get a top listing position for. So all of this becomes an interesting project where you're taking these thousands of keywords, you're looking and analyzing them all, you're identifying the ones that are worthy of going after, and you're developing what we call keyword silos. And your keyword silos are groups of keywords that are aimed around a particular topic area that makes sense for you to go after based upon your budgets and your resources and your ability to create this great content around these topics and these silo overall topics that you're general topics that you're developing based upon your keyword research. So when you're making this selection of which keywords to go after, there's a bunch of data that needs to come into play. Your ranking in the search engines needs to come into play. For example, notice for the keyword phrase hire freelance writers, WriterAccess is #1. And because we're already #1, you can see a column called WriterAccess score. We've scored these keywords based upon an algorithm that we created that allows us to say, things like, hey, if it's got a high search volume, but it's really difficult to go after, and we're not even in the top 50, then, let's give it a low score. Alternatively, if it's got a high search volume and we're already in position, say, #6, wow, maybe we should go after that keyword phrase. So let's give it a higher score. And so this data helps us make decisions on what to prioritize, what to go after, and what to target. So that's essentially, those are the 3 documents that I believe you need to put together. Now, let me show you how you roll them all together and make this all come together to make things happen. And the good news is we'll open it up for questions in about 5 or so minutes, 10 minutes maybe, so we can leave lots of Q&A this time for people that might want to ask some questions here. So the first thing to notice is that when you're developing your topics, you can actually create what I call almost a topic heat map. So you're coming up with lots of topic titles, and you can say, okay, which stage of the customer journey would that topic appeal to? So as you go through this, you can say, wow, I'm covering my bases. I'm creating lots of topics for people at different stages of the customer journey. That's a simple map to showcase how the topics can align with the journey. But now let's take a look at how the topics can also align at the buyer personas. You can say, okay, Larry might be more interested in how to find a writing mentor because Larry does some editing of all the content created at WriterAccess. He needs help in becoming a good mentor for the writers that he's working with to educate and acclimate them. So all of these topics can be mapped to the personas as well. And the topics can also be mapped to the keyword silos. So you can start scattering these topics out and making sure that you're creating topics for your keyword, your customer journey map, your silos, your personas. That's how you sort of align the strategy with what you're actually producing. But there's some other things that need to come into play with the type of content topics you're writing about, and that is the content assets that you're actually creating. And here you want to get very granular with the type of asset you're creating. I believe there are really 4 types of content assets in the end of the day that we end up publishing. At the top of the funnel, it's thought leadership content. Very difficult to produce. We're talking books here or thought leadership positions, things that could get picked up in major publications or created for major publications. It's thought leadership and authority content at its finest. There's a layer below that that any company or anyone can produce, and that is what I call research content, or really good resourced content where you're looking for resources out there that are authority websites, where you're pulling together lots of data from those authority websites and writing in a thorough, comprehensive summary using the data you can find in the marketplace to back up your content with stats, with facts, with insights that make a case. That's the second level. That to me, that's thought leadership content, but it's done without the thought leader. It's done with a great researcher and a great writer that combine to put together tremendous assets that, again, can be used for different stages of the journey, depending upon what you're looking to do and who you're trying to attract and what channel you're using. The next level below that is informational how-to content, probably related to your products and services, but very possibly not. It could be, how to onboard a new writer, a freelance writer, to work more efficiently and effectively with them. That's a general how-to in the space that we're in. That would be helpful and informational for anybody to see. And of course, your content related to products and services relate to, how to find a writer in the WriterAccess platform, how to place an order, how to place a detailed order, how to set up rule sets to make sure your content meets a certain level of specifications and requirements with relative ease. So there's more product-centered content. But all of that, of course, needs to be aligned with the topics you're creating. And these summary lines on the bottom are critical as well, because you need to make sure you're creating a balanced amount of content in all of these stages to really make it work. So the number 5 tip is to align the topics with your channels. And we won't spend a ridiculous ton of time going after this particular section, but your own content or content assets like your blog, your website, maybe tip and advice centers, assets that you're creating, that you're controlling on your own website. And, clearly you need to create a lot of that content, and that's the most easiest content for you to be creating. And that's something that you'll need to, have relative ease creating. You'll need to use that organic content to find the more interesting, more shared, more popular assets you're creating, and you will want to quickly amplify those content with paid advertising to leverage the potential return on the investment for the development of that assets. But that's really the funnel you want to use. You want to use your organic marketplace to find out what gets shared, what's get liked, what's get repeat visitation. People are coming back to it, they're referencing it, what gets listed even in the search engines because it's popular in topic. You need to study all of that and analyze all of that, and then find out what you can amplify and throw some pay-per-click dollars behind it, and Facebook and LinkedIn and some other areas, some content distribution networks. So that's the effort there. The big assets. The most difficult assets are earned assets, and that's where you've earned the right to be published as a guest post on another website, or as an author over at Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur magazine, where you've earned the right to be published on another network because of your authority in the space. And that's the ultimate goal, but only a few of your topics you create are going to earn that clout and earn that opportunity to help you reach channels. So the next thing to talk about is optimization. And here you can see a really great way where you can look at all of the keywords you've targeted and how many content assets you've created around those keyword phrases that use those keyword phrases. This is a great, quick, and easy way to get a sanity check to make sure you're scattering all of the contents you're targeting around to your content assets. Over at WriterAccess, we have a free tool that our customers can use that brings in all their blog posts, for example, through WordPress, and analyzes all the keywords that we're helping them track with search engine result positions, and shows you the variation of how many content assets are you creating, and you can quickly around these keyword phrases so you can find the deficiencies and publish more content using those keyword phrases. I'd like to think that we're advancing with the measurement of content strategy and content performance. Here's a really simple way to do it, where you can look at how much content you're publishing, say, each month on WordPress, whether you may be ignoring some of your channels, like in this case, Facebook. We're not publishing any posts on Facebook, but in Twitter, we are publishing a number of posts, and this is tracking the number of tweets we have each month that we're pushing out. And then we can see so the top 3 charts analyze the content we're publishing. The lower 3 charts are looking at the results of that. How is our traffic increasing? Is our Google listing positions increasing? In terms of the top 10 listing positions, which are the green ones on the bottom, and the top 100 positions. We can look at both of those separately just to make sure we're actually losing some of our top listings, but we're gaining some other listings that are not yet in the top 50. So we've got a longer term approach for success. And same with Bing and Yahoo, looking at the data over there. So this is a really nice quick snapshot. This is a report that we generate for all of our customers monthly that want to hook in these API integrations so they can quickly get a snapshot of how much they're publishing and what potential impact it might have. So the final thing to note is putting this all together in a content plan. And in the end of the day, as a content strategist, you need to take all this data, look at all this work you're doing, and make some budget recommendations to your boss as to how much money you should be spending on content. And that's tricky to do. I'm not going to, beat around the bush, but let me give you a couple of thoughts as to how you can come up with some of these numbers that you see below. The estimated traffic increase can be calculated based on the analysis of your keyword positions and the migration of those keywords towards the top 10 listing positions. So as you begin to see your keyword listing positions improve, obviously you're going to be more visible, and you can start to project and predict the traffic increase based upon the assets you're creating and how much content you're creating and what the expected new flood of traffic coming to your website is. So there is a mathematical way to look at potential traffic increases, looking at lots of data and lots of variables. There's also a way, therefore, to say, okay, this is how many leads we're generating with the current traffic we're getting. If we double our traffic, we should see at least a 50% increase in the number of leads, so we can begin to pull out some data based upon traffic increases and leads. We can then say, okay, what's the lifetime value of a customer to us once that lead converts, and what's the percentage of leads that convert over to customers? Looking at those 2 variables, you can actually get a revenue projection, and you can say, okay, if we put $58,000 into content, our traffic is going to increase, our leads will increase, we know our lifetime value, so the revenue boost based upon our lifetime value of our customer would be $3 million. So the ROI, basically the bottom line, how much profit you would potentially make on that would be, $1 million. So you start looking at those variables, and you can actually develop some logical basis once you map this all out. So here is a link to my book that you can quickly download to save yourself the $9.99. And I'm not going to sign it for you, so it's even better. You can resell it or something. So hopefully that will help you. I put a lot of time into the book. It talks about everything I spoke about today and a lot more. Hope you'll enjoy it. So there ends my presentation, everyone. Try to make it tight and simple and easy, and I would love to field some questions if anybody has any.
Thank you so much, Byron. That was a great presentation. I really especially enjoyed the process where you're going through the checklist for measuring whether or not your content fits on different channels and looking at the personas, the assets, the journey, and the keywords, as well as the channels. That was really useful. I'm definitely going to be stealing that. We do have a few questions. One of them is, what was that link again? Well, don't worry, guys. Well, I'll send out in the email that goes out afterwards, you'll get the recording as well as the link to this, to Byron's book, and a few other little tidbits of information as well. So William has a question, and it's, what is the difference between persona development and psychographic research? I don't know if you want to touch in on that a bit.
Sure. So I think you want to use psychometrics to enhance your personas. So you're going to look at, so the ideal scenario would be to find a customer that, you know, is new to you, by the way. And that's another thing we didn't get into, is what customer should you choose to, you know, as the embodiment of other customers that are like that customer. And some tips for you on that before we get into your specific question on neurometrics are to choose customers that are relatively new to you. Why? The competitive landscape is probably changed radically. Don't choose customers that you interview and go deep with to develop personas around that are like 5-year-old customers that have worked with you forever, because they are not in tune with the competitive landscape. So that's tip number one. So the next thing to answer the question, neurometrics are amazing. Cambridge University developed that tool that I gave you the link for, Applied Magic Sauce. And it's brilliant technology that they developed doing questionnaires and surveys to the audience about their patterns, behaviors, personalities, and personality analysis. And then they compared that with the data they crunched using Facebook access for everyone that participated in the survey to try and predict what personality types were with a paper survey versus the data crunching Facebook analysis. And what they found was Facebook could get much deeper with regards to the analysis of someone's personality based upon what they share, what they like, what they pass around. So it's amazing insights, but it's very generic. You know, when you load it in, it will instantly give you results and tell you based upon what you share and what you like, who you are and what your demographics are. I would take some of that data and bring it into the actual paper persona that you're developing with your team. And, you know, this isn't really about a pure data-driven approach to pegging your customers and who they are and, you know, having this data analysis. This is a way for your team and your writers to get together and huddle and say, hey guys, we need to understand this. Let's put this in writing and use all the data resources that we can. And by the way, there are a lot of data resources for research that you need to get into. You know, I think the Cambridge University is absolutely one of them, but it's not the only thing you need to do. You need to look at your search box on your website and see what people are searching for. You know, you need to look at a number of different variables before you can truly, you know, develop a persona that's you know, that you can work with. Does that make sense? Oh.
Great, thanks. I didn't get a response from William, but that was really helpful, Byron. Thank you. Sure. There's a few more questions, so hopefully we'll have time to get through them all. We have a little bit of time. So Steve is asking, how would you explain the difference between content strategy versus customer experience design?
Excellent question. You know, to me, they're kind of one and the same. I think that, you know, content strategy is a little bit more detailed towards a specific methodology around creating content. You know, the assets and the GPS guides, if you will, that I presented today, customer journey map, buyer personas, keyword maps, those fit nicely under the umbrella of content strategy and developing a content strategy. However, the center of a content strategy or content marketing or marketing in general is the customer and their experience with your brand. So I think, to me, customer experience design is the centerpiece of any business model and is the core element. Marketing fuels that customer experience with content at every stage of that experience. And by putting even that journey map that you saw with 8 elements to it, with the customer in the center of all of that, that's designing content and content strategy around that customer's experience. Whereas the product also needs to fit with customer experience design, what a customer experiences when they touch your products or your services. How do they interact with them? That's a different part. So you need, in that case, a product strategy that fits under customer experience design.
Great. Thanks, Byron. We have a couple more questions. Diane is asking, do you measure social media performance outside of search engine rankings? I'm assuming in addition to search engine rankings and organic traffic.
Definitely. One of my favorite research websites in the world, and particularly with topic development, is BuzzSumo. If you have never used BuzzSumo, please jump in and dive in and enjoy the power of BuzzSumo. In so many ways, it's just scary. But, content strategy is really, as you've seen, all about developing topics that would appeal to customers and prospects at different stages of the journey and different types of customers, of course, optimized as well. But the end result of your success has to be measured by not only improved listing positions, but shares, as well as time on page, as well as repeat visitation. I mean, there are dozens of, there's at least a dozen ways to measure content marketing success. And social media is absolutely one of them. To me, social media, when I think of it, is not so much about shares. It's about, reaching people at the right time with the right type of content and the right tone and the right voice. So content strategy gets deep into, okay, how do I write, content for Facebook versus LinkedIn? What type of content do I share in those different mediums? So the strategy with social media is about the content creation aspect of it and aligning that to the different channels.
Yeah, totally. And BuzzSumo is a great tool. I use it all the time as well.
Yeah.
Joe's
it's like cheating. It's like cheating.
It is. BuzzSumo is my social media tool, and Ahrefs is my organic tool. And
nice.
I can't live without them. Joe's asking, apart from SpyFu, what other keyword research tools can be used? Is Jaxi any good?
I don't know that one. Fascinating. What was it called?
Heard of Jaxi? I don't think I've ever heard of that tool.
As in GACKC?
JAXXY.
Wow. Nice plug for Jaxi if that's your site by chance. But yeah, everybody check it out. Good plug there. Moz, if you go to WriterAccess, you'll find one of my books is on 139 content marketing tools. You can download a free PDF version of it. So go have at it. There's just so many tools out there. It's unbelievable. The scrape that I showed you, when we develop those keyword maps and we do our initial research, I personally love SpyFu because it quickly allows you to find competitive keyword phrases. And it gives you the raw data that I think you need to power up and make it work. I would say SpyFu, Moz, Jaxi, bring them on.
How many social media posts and blog posts should be published weekly and or monthly? And does it depend on the industry? And Jen is saying she's heard that Google and other media will start penalizing you after a certain amount and or certain number of clients.
Ooh, I love the penalized part of it. I never in my life have heard of a penalty for publishing too much content. I've certainly seen penalties for linking spam and really poor content that has a purpose of link building exclusively and is created by a spider bot, that is by a bot that's basically recreating content. So there are penalties for bad content, but so let me answer that question. That's a great question. And do you remember when I was talking in the beginning of the presentation about the complexity with working with companies like Walmart and answering those really tough questions. How much content do we need? How frequently do we need to publish? What channels, right? So that's what everyone wants to know. Like this is the you know, the $6 million question that everyone's trying to answer. How, you know, either how much content or how little content do I need to publish to what? Be successful? And could you define that a little bit more? Like, are you looking to increase your traffic? What's the competitive landscape? How competitive are the keywords you're trying to target to improve your traffic? I mean, there's so many questions that you need to answer if you're trying to develop an appropriate and successful content strategy. But here's my answer. I think you need to publish. I think that all of that is like a wishy-washy answer to like, okay, go do like 6 months of research before you can even answer that question. That's crap. Okay. You need to look at your overall marketing budget and say, what can we afford to spend on organic marketing? Okay. And organic marketing really is content creation for the most part, is the centerpiece to it all, with a strategy behind it, with decisions that are made on, okay, what stages of the journey do we want to completely ignore? You know, and who are the fewest number of personas we really want to write for? And let's just focus on a few keywords that matter to us that, you know, that we can go after. Okay, great. Now you can start saying, you know, with what I gave you guys some insights on today, you can say, okay, now I know what I'm up against. I know how difficult it is going to be to go after these keyword phrases. And I know what the needs of my customers are. And, you know, I think we need to spend, you know, $30,000 of our $100,000 marketing budget on organic marketing. And I think what you're going to find, at least this is what I find, is that our organic leads are 4 times what our paid leads are. Okay, 4 times the conversion. It's unbelievable, right? And I think most companies are finding that now. And that's why there's a gold rush to create content, and why everyone's just pushing out more content than you can imagine, which is causing all this clutter in the marketplace. And so there certainly are trends to create better, more engaging content. And we're seeing an elevation, even at WriterAccess. You'll find this interesting. We've seen a migration of the star levels that people are buying content at, like up towards now, like most people are buying like, you know, 5-star and 6-star content, 8 cents a word. And then 6-star starts at 10 cents and goes up to $2 a word. People want higher quality content these days because they're getting more bang for the buck. And those assets are performing better. You can amplify them with paid because they're written better. They're more engaging. They have the elements on there that I think are critical to get the biggest bang for your buck for content marketing investment. So that's my answer. But do publish consistently, whatever you do. You know, these spider bots literally come back to your site periodically, whatever you train them to come back. They're like a pet dog. You know, they walk in the door and they come up. You know, publish a blog post Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you know what? The bots are going to pick that up immediately and link that. So the bots are watching your publishing frequency as well as your users. Nothing is worse than going to a website and seeing a scattered approach to blogging. Like, you know, there were 2 months between one of his posts. I mean, I'm not going to go back to this website to look at articles because I have no idea what their publishing frequency is going to be. So, you know, be consistent. Magazines are consistent for a reason. They're monthly, right? You know, with lots of articles in them, right? We're trained to buy a new magazine once a month. Forward-thinking companies are thinking like old school publishers, publishing consistency, publishing with high quality, optimizing for the customer experience. That's the story. There's your answer.
Great. We have like just another thing on the Google penalty issues. It's definitely the low quality content that's going to be a problem with that. And if you're building a ton of links to that low quality content, and Google sees that, they're going to start asking questions, because if something else is written at a much higher level than what you're producing consistently, that's going to raise some red flags, and that's where you might see some issues. But yeah, just like Byron said already. And I think we probably have time for one more question, you think?
Sure.
Let me see here. If my business appeals to multiple personas, how do I create content that balances reaching each persona without pushing away the others?
Right. Good one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I think in general we get too hung up with this challenge that we need like 10 different personas, and we need to really create too much content probably in the end of the day to appeal to all of those different personas. And that's the mistake that I think you're making. Unless you have a very, very large budget, you are going to need to have only probably 2 or 3 or 4 at the most personas developed that will give your writers a solid idea of the different tone and style and contextual elements that need to go into the content assets being created. Remember that my philosophy for persona development was to have a purpose of developing what I call a creative brief. And the brief describes those elements I just talked about: tone, style, voice. You're just trying to educate your writers on who the audience is so they can create the tone and style that will best connect with them. Is it ADD Andy or is it sophisticated Sally? To me, that's the purpose of personas. So you need to think about your customers differently and try to find general patterns, unless you've got a very large budget. There are some companies that have very different customers. I mean, for example, at WriterAccess, 40% of our revenue is agencies that are actually creating content for customers. We have to deal with agencies, and write content for them. And so, one of our personas is somebody that works at an agency cranking out content. It's actually a lower level person that has like 50 clients that they have to create content for every month, 8 to 12 blog posts a month. They need tools and, So that's my answer would be, I think maybe what you learned today was the persona is one thing. To me, it's the purpose is create a brief. The customer journey map to me is honestly much more interesting. What kind of content are you creating? And then, of course, okay, who would be involved in that decision-making process? For example, the chief content officer is probably not at the discovery stage. They're going to come in at the trial or the buy stage and sweep in and want some data more specific about the product. I don't think you necessarily need to have a whole bunch of content written for a chief content officer, but you just need the journey stages are more interesting with the topic development to me than the personas.
Good answer. Okay, so we're at 2 o'clock. That was a good question, and I feel like a lot of people appreciated that. We're at 2 o'clock. I don't know how you feel. Do you want to take any more questions, or should we cut this?
Sure. Go ahead. Take a few more. Why not?
All right. Let's get another question. Do you have any specific recommendations for B2B businesses in terms of their content strategy? Or would you say that this appeals to everyone?
To me, B2B and B2C are not different from one another when it comes to the development of the assets that I suggested today. Mm-hmm. Your goal is the same. Develop topics that interest people with a tone and a style that's relevant, optimized for performance. Simple. Next question.
There's another
That's just
question.
my take. That's just my take.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Obviously, you've got to harvest topics that would appeal to the B2B target audience versus the B2C. But that's just topic selection. That's just one element of the formula.
Right. We have one more question. Can't you have technology help with serving the right content to the right persona based on prior content that was read and liked, similar to shopping sites like Amazon?
Absolutely. 5 words there summarize that. Oh, those aren't 5 words, but they're so yeah. That's really what you're studying. Is the engagement element. You remember the chart that I showed in the end? I could just scroll back to it really quickly here. But really what you're looking for is finding what Larry Kim calls the unicorns, right? So, you're looking to find the engagement down one of these columns. So, okay, of all this stuff we wrote about content strategy, what was most popular? Or when we look at the heat map and we saw statistics on the number of shares behind each of these check marks, we would be able to say, wow, let's produce more content like that. And so, yes, that question shows great insight into, again, looking at trying to find patterns of, and that's what this is all about. That's really, to me, what marketing and data and artificial intelligence are when we develop these strategies and these plans. I mean, it's looking for patterns. And so, yeah, find out what's hot and create more of it, and gas on the fire. So hats off for not only a great question, but a great point that comes up with the purpose and the method for the madness. Larry Kim has so many great decks and webinars and presentations. His unicorn presentation that he gave as a keynote at Content Marketing Conference this year was fantastic. The way that he wove that all together to essentially plant lots of acorns, find out what grows quickly and go get some organic and pour water on it with paid amplification through social channels. And that's getting so wonderfully easy to do now. With Facebook has some great new tools where you can load in your whole database, email addresses, and do profile matching and find customers like the customers you've loaded in, and take some of your popular posts that you're learning and drive more traffic to them. See if you can build up the momentum, build up the comments, and then use those as a catalyst for lead generation, to build authorities and earn trust and all the fun stuff that all comes together once you map this stuff out.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Byron. That was a great presentation. Once again, for everyone who's in the session, we will send out the link to the recording, and as well as a link to Byron's downloadable book. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.